Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. He's the one and only Angel Ortega. Lots to talk about, as always. Lots of UFC, lots of boxing, lots of Bellator. Once again, just to remind you, our podcast is brought to you by Rogue Energy. You want 10% off your order. Use the code Soundoff at checkout. That's code Soundoff at checkout for 10% off your all of your energy needs. Angel, my guy, hell of a card. One of the greatest of the year, without a doubt. It was the one you were the most hyped for. I mean, every single time we talked, you seemingly brought up the UFC 268. And, it lived up to the hype. Somehow, some way, it lived up to the hype. Main event, Kamaru Usman defeating Colby Covington at the Mecca MSG in New York. Scorecards being unanimous, 48, 47, 48, 47, 49, 46. No knockout this time. Instead, it's a decision win for the champ. I will go ahead and ask this, though. I'm sure you'll probably impress with the Usman performance. I'm sure you had fun with the fight. What was your scorecard? Because I was somebody who seemingly thought that it was actually a pretty clear Kamaru win. I didn't think there was that much controversy. He knocked it down in round 2. I thought he put in a great performance. And then I hopped on Twitter and saw that apparently everybody thought Colby was robbed. So I'm going to go ahead and get your opinion.
What?
You didn't know this?
I never heard people. I never heard anybody say that they thought Colby was robbed, but I did hear people say they thought it was 2-2 apiece, and that Colby was and then it came down to the last round. I heard some people say that, which I was like, I don't know about that. I could see it being 2-2, like as far as like it was 3-2 as a whole, right? Like Colby maybe took 2 rounds, like that's what made it somewhat of a close fight. But fuck man, there's people who thought Colby got robbed.
It's actually a super, super common thing. If you just go to like Instagram and Twitter and you check just on social media, I won't say that it's like a media thing. You know what I mean? Because I checked MMA decisions and I saw that out of like something like 27 people, one of them thought Colby won. But if you check social media, it's just completely rampant with, Colby got robbed, he blah, 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 all that bullshit. So I'm surprised you did not see that. But just to go ahead and follow up, though, what was your scorecard on the night of?
I'd probably say the first 3 Usman and then the last 2 Colby. I mean, he did come on those later rounds.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Out of curiosity, did you give Usman a 10-8 in round 2?
There's a whole debate about that, which that was around in which he dropped him, right?
Dropped him twice.
Which, I mean, Josh, we've seen people get dropped twice in a round and 10-8 not be given. So it's not a fucking surprise to me, I'm just going to put it out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, personally, I honestly scored it 48-46 for Usman, and I wasn't that surprised at all that people were just crying robbery. Because, I mean, I don't know how in touch you are with the MMA Twitter. I regret being a part of it, but just like people still bring up like Kamaru, the nut shot controversy from the first fight, where did he get hit low, did he not, and people like to pretend Colby got robbed in that one, and that never made any sense to me, or the complaint about the stoppage. So the second I knew the fight was going to a decision, I'm like, oh, people are going to say it got robbed. I didn't think it was that close. I thought after round 3, Usman just started to coast. Because I thought he clearly took the first 3 rounds, and I gave him a 10-8 in round 2 because he got as close as he possibly can to finishing somebody without finishing them. You know what I mean? That's one of the easiest ways for me to give out a 10-8. I mean, if Colby didn't get in on like just barely grab like his foot in on like a single leg, then we're not even talking about any of this. It's a round 2 knockout. Like he face planted him on the second knockdown. So about as good but full props to Colby for ultimately getting to the scorecards, having a nice little moral victory. I'll ask this, as far as moving forward, I think Kamaru has entered into a unique conversation, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm gonna ask, because Dana White seemingly, in the words of former NFL coach Dennis Green, he crowned his ass He stated that he is the 170-pound GOAT, despite only having 5 title defenses, in a litany of other stuff in comparison to George St. Pierre. I'll ask this. Do you think it's time for him to be crowned as the greatest welterweight of all time? And do you think he's far off from being the GOAT of MMA, period?
We seemingly have this conversation every time this name comes up, Josh. And you see me dismantle this every time off air. I don't think I have the energy right now to dismantle it on air. But no, he is not the welterweight GOAT. He's not the MMA GOAT. He's far from it, actually. It's actually kind of crazy how far he is really from it, because it just goes to show how much you have to do to actually get there. And it's not like he's not in the conversation of being one of the best to ever do it. Don't take it wrong. He's one of the best guys to ever compete. It's not impossible for him to become the greatest of all time. If anything, it shouldn't take very long if he were to do the things. At least in my opinion, I think there's certain fights he shouldn't have taken. Certain fights he didn't have to take again. Certain victories that were just done. I think if he would have moved on, fought more names, I think he'd be deeper in the conversation, at least for me personally. But rematching a guy like Colby, rematching Gamebred, and granted, and when he ended up fighting Gamebred, that wasn't his fault. That was originally supposed to be Gilbert. It's just stuff like that. And a lot of things have happened in that time. A lot of things have changed. He's gotten better. He's a legitimately good guy. We'll put it as it is. He's gotten better. Is he at his peak? It's funny enough, Josh, because I don't even think this is the best version of Kamaru. Kamaru's at a very high level, but I think he could get better, which is scary to think about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's already really fucking good. And he's already doing a lot. It's just like, if he just stays in the sport, stays active like he is, keeps fighting a lot of names, I don't know if I don't think he'll ever plan on going up a weight class, but if he ever does, I always thought that'd be an interesting matchup, but yeah, no, definitely not right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. I'm kind of on the same page as you. In fact, look, after the last one, I was shocked people were having the conversation, and I'm still a little bit surprised now. And here's the worst part is it's not even something that it's not even just Dana, which is disappointing, because Dana's entire thing is kind of he's definitely on the alternate side of there's MMA fans that kind of embrace the history of the sport, and there are MMA fans that just, in a stark contrast to other sports I've seen, they just shit on everything that came before it, and that comes into the argument we've had before with Fedor and previous fighters always getting shit on from the older era. And Dana's taken that role, obviously, because he needs to promote UFC now. But seeing fans just completely down, it's not even close. If you check out GSP's accomplishments, and I saw somebody trying to argue against it, because well, who of GSP's opponents beat Colby? I'm that's not the argument. And I think, dude, prime Johnny Hendricks is a motherfucker. Prime Matt Hughes was a motherfucker. In fact, I have Matt Hughes above Usman in the conversation. He had 8 title wins. So it's just borderline insane to me that we're having this conversation after 5 title defenses, and 4 of which were rematches. It's not exactly he's going out. If he beats Hazmat, I'll give it to him. I'm not even going to argue.
Whoa, Josh, you're already throwing the Hazmat out there like that?
Hypothetically, if that fight were to happen, right? I'm not saying it would be next, but Usman's probably going to fight Leon Edwards next, right? Simply because I don't know who else he could fight. And if he beats Leon Edwards, sure, that is a rematch, but Leon now is
respect for my boy Vincente Luque.
Leon is on a much better run than Luque, though.
True. Fuck it.
So I can't argue. So hypothetically, let's say he goes out and he beats Leon and then he beats Hazmat. I would consider that strength of schedule. It'd be 7 title defenses versus 9. So it's relatively close, and I would consider him having beaten better competition. But we're also layers away from that. If he just goes out and beats Leon again, but here's the thing, it's Usman, I don't think he's gonna get there just because he's talking about retirement. He's been talking about retirement a lot lately, and a lot of the time you can tell it's just kind of a ploy. Cejudo said he was gonna retire, and 4 weeks later he was calling out people. I don't think that's the case here. I actually think Kamar's probably gonna hang it up soon, and he's gonna dip and he's gonna be gone.
I don't know about that, Josh, because he's also brought up. I think it is a money thing still, because he has brought up boxing Canelo, which is I still love Dana's response like that to did he see him box tonight? I don't think Kamaru saw Canelo box tonight.
Dude, I can't wait to talk about that because that was a great fight. But yeah, dude, that would not be it for him. But yeah, I honestly, I don't know. It's entirely possible he's actually doing that because he's actually thinking of retirement, and then he wants to go ahead and potentially get that money and then dip. You know what I mean? But it's ultimately that's a completely different conversation. As far as that goes, no, Usman's not in the GOAT conversation yet in MMA period, and then also especially at welterweight. It's just crazy to me that people are already crowning him. But moving on down, speaking of being crowned, Rose Namajunas retaining her strawweight championship in a razor-thin decision, 47-48, 48-47, and 49-46 being the scorecards, defeating Zhang Weili in a close rematch. So, Angel, let me go ahead and get your – we talked about the scorecards in the last one. This one even closer. How'd you have this one?
I had it 3-2 Weili. I'm going to keep it 100. I thought Weili won the first two. I thought Rose won the last two.
That's fair enough, man. That's fair enough. I'm completely honest with you. I actually thought it was a relatively clear Weili win.
I was so confident, actually. I was really confident going into that scorecard. Then I heard 49-46, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, it's funny. Once I heard 49,
announce it.
Once I heard 49-46, I was actually entirely even more sure. Because I was like, they are inarguable rounds. And I was like, round 2, we can argue round 3. I think that's what it comes down to, right?
Well, have you looked at what the judges scored it? Can we go through it really quick?
Yeah, I can actually pull it up. But from my understanding, everybody's argument comes down to round 3. But I thought round 1 and round 2 inarguable for Weili. So the second I heard that, I'm like, round 3 and round 4 were close. I could see that. Yeah, 49-46 Weili. That's how it's going to go. But okay, so Michael Bell, the judge who scored it for Zhang, like we said, first 3 rounds for her.
Well, unanimously, it was a first round for Weili. Let's just put that out there. And unanimously, the last 2 rounds were for Rose. Okay, then we go into 2 and 3, where I'm just gonna break it down like this because I think it'll be a little easier. My bad.
Yeah,
I didn't
go ahead.
cut you off like that. And then two judges gave it to Rose. One judge gave it to Weili, which was the one that gave the fight to Weili. And then the third round, 2 judges had it for Weili and 1 judge had it for Rose, which is kind of weird. There was such kind of a separation there. But it gives you an idea of how hard it was. It's hard to score a card. And a lot of media gave it to Rose too, by the way. Now that I'm looking at, because I'm sure you're on a MMA decision just like I am.
Yeah.
But what was it? Was it a second or third round where she hurt Rose? Like legitimately hurt Rose. Like she landed the biggest shot of the round.
Yeah, I believe that was round 2.
Yeah, which I was like, I think that won her the fight. She had a good output in that round. Like I felt pretty confident about that. I can't remember the third round off the top of my head. But I know that first round was relatively close, but I'm like, I think Weili that won that. I thought she landed the harder shots, had a little bit more output, like just did enough to win that. So she ended up taking that on all scorecards. I saw someone argue that on, I don't know if you scroll down to MMA's made decisions, but like I think the first one or one of the first comments is like, how the fuck did Weili take round 1? And I was like, what?
Like, I don't even know how that's. Yeah, because she clearly took round 1. Like
every judge had it for her, but yeah, I thought it was a clear 3-2 victory for Weili. Actually, I came out of that feeling like Weili was a better fighter, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. She did have her issues on the ground, right? Which, obviously, that it got exposed. Shout out to Rose for finding that out late in the rounds. That was kind of sick out of her. And, she has to get back into the lab. I figured that shit out. But it was weird because I didn't come out of that fight thinking like, damn, I didn't think Rose was better than Weili. I don't know. I really didn't feel like it.
Mm-hmm. And not to cut you off, but the only thing's interesting is I think this fight completely validates Weili's point. She's like, after the first one, a lot of people were saying she's making excuses. She was like, yeah, I got caught on literally the first exchange. I made one bad read and I lost. I think I'm still the better fighter. That does not tell me I'm not the better fighter. And, she's a class act. She even went out and was like, I'm not the better fighter. I lost, but I'm not going to say whether or not she is a better fighter or not, because, look, this was a razor-thin fight. As much as we're saying
it was a great match.
As much as we're saying that we thought Weili won, and I think she completely did, it was a very, very close fight. And look, man, this is my big issue with why this fight was booked immediately after, because now Weili's in a really bad position. She's 32. She's only getting older. She's now going to have to figure out, she's either going to have to wait for somebody to take the belt from Rose, or she's going to have to try and, I mean, potentially move up, but she's very undersized at 125, so it's frustrating me. But yeah, as far as your point about her being the better fighter, I don't know if she is overall. She was on that night. I don't know. I hated that decision. I just
Oh my
straight up
god,
hated
I'm
that
actually looking
decision.
at fan scoring right now. Like not
Yeah.
media scoring, fan scoring. 52% had it for Whaley, 45% had it for Rose. I actually didn't realize it was like that.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
is
not surprised. I mean, if you look at just by round stuff, it's not even particularly close. Um, it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, I think we're kind of Whaley homers to a degree. I like Rose, but just damn, dude. After all that, I can't stand bad scoring, and I'm pretty sure Eric Cologne, the judge who scored it for Rose 49-46, that motherfucker had to be like Dana watching the Canelo fight, dude. Like, there's no way you can look at me straight in the face and say that's a 49-46. Like I said, you can even make that case for Whaley better than you can for Rose. Like, that never made any sense to me. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think the fact that how the fight went, i.e., the last two rounds just being completely Rose, I think really made it a lot more easy to stomach for a lot of people. But it's still very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. As far as moving on down the card, obviously we're gonna skip over these two. We'll come back to them. But the main card opener, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. Oh my God.
it
Justin
lived up
Gaethje
to the hype.
winning. It somehow lived up to the hype against all odds. Justin Gaethje defeats Michael Chandler 29-28, 29-28, 30-27. Somehow making it to the judges' scorecard as well. Good Lord, dude. It's probably. I mean, for me personally, it's definitely fight of the year. But I mean, what did you think about that one?
It's a fucking banger, dude. Fight of the year, man. I just have very high standards for fight of the year. Like I told you, I've looked back throughout the year and I've seen good fights, but I haven't been like, that's the one yet. You know what I mean? And I know that's
Mm,
so crappy because we're coming to the end of the year, and there's not really a lot of stuff left, right? And I'm sure once I look back, I'll be like, damn, that was actually kind of a banger. I mean, there's fights that I've been like, that's a banger, but for me, fight of the year just has to be like this perfect mixture of everything, man. And I mean, it was up there. I'll tell you that. The only reason I wouldn't put it up there is just because I kind of felt like Chandler just tried to like, it's gonna sound crazy, just have fun. You know what I mean? Like
mm.
the victory was second in his mind almost. Like he did want to go out there and win in essence, but it wasn't like it almost seemed like it wasn't priority. You know what I mean? It was more to
Mm.
entertain. Which hey man, I was entertained, but you could tell that there's certain things he could have done in that fight to be more successful. There's certain things he could have done as a whole to maybe get closer to victory. I mean, he ended up getting fucking dropped. But by the way, for as much as people question his chin, and even I brought it up, dude, he ate the fuck out of that. I mean, he really did, Josh. He got
Hmm.
fucking dropped hard. I mean, I thought it was over. I was so convinced. I thought it was over. I predicted on my verdict card, because I do the little app thing. I predicted Gaethje be a second round finish, which at that point was looking pretty fucking good. Let me tell you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, honestly, I'm not. Look, I even said it last week. I was like, he's kind of late stage Chuck Liddell in terms of, just his chin. He's gone through so much. But dude, this was his like if that comparison is apt, this is his Chuck Liddell Vanderlei Silva fight, dude. Like just absolutely getting bombed on and somehow, despite like, taking all that damage, still being able to stay in there and take even more damage. Absolutely insane. I'm shocked he did not get finished. Very, very shocked he did not get finished. As far as the fight goes, dude, I mean, I think it was a pretty clear Gaethje win. And I'll say this much, dude. I had like a Twitter thread about this. But it's honestly really, really impressive to me that not really necessarily impressive, but like the fact that Michael Chandler came to the UFC in his not late 30s, mid 30s, and he's pretty much just throwing caution to the wind. And like a lot of guys say they're gonna go out and bang, and I actually thought that he was actually gonna flip the script on him and go for takedowns and still put on a good fight because I don't think Chandler is capable of a boring fight, but probably even play it more safe. I think he's probably just trying to lure him in. But dude, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, he went for takedowns in the second round and the third round because he was gassed and he was hurt, but that was it. He's truly kind of transcended a lot of expectation just by virtue of he's staying in there, he's competing with the best in the world, and he's doing it very, very fun. He's putting on fun fights. He's 1-2 in the UFC, which feels wrong to me. Just if you were to think about how these fights have gone, it's just crazy to me that he is 1-2. And just all the star power and so on and so forth. But moving forward, 2 questions to ask you coming out of this fight. Firstly, do you think Justin Gaethje deserves a title shot? And 2, is Michael Chandler the fight to make for Conor McGregor next?
Dude, this whole conversation's God. We're about to get into it though. Where do you want to start first? Because you asked 2 questions.
Let's go ahead and start with the Gaethje.
This is something that I feel really weird about. I get it. I brought up the fact that if things worked out a certain way in the past and he didn't fight Habib at the time, he would have been able to fight Dustin for the belt. And I think Dustin versus Poirier would have been. I mean, Dustin at the time, Dustin Poirier 2 would have been for the belt, and I think that would have been a fucking banger. Those guys would have been, I felt like those guys are pretty much undisputed 1-2 at 155 at the time, right? But just the way things worked out, I mean, those guys weren't in the position to take that fight or have that fight. But I don't know, man. Now the winner of I feel really weird about it. I think if Poirier wins, that makes a lot of sense. Because there's story there. If Oliveira wins, I mean it's a good fight still, but I don't know if I'm still as interested. Mm-hmm. And there's guys in the wings waiting, and it's a name that we've kind of forgotten, Josh. I was thinking about this the last few weeks where he hasn't even been talked in the. I have actually listened to multiple podcasts, and this name's been absolutely forgotten. And we got to think about people like Dan Hooker who fought, Makhachev who's fought, obviously Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, and obviously Justin and Oliveira about to fight soon. But there's one name that's been forgotten, Josh. You know what name that is?
Is it Beneil Dariush?
Beneil Dariush has not been mentioned in any of these conversations. And it's what do you do with Beneil Dariush? I mean, this is actually a great question that I want to get into now. I know we're talking about Gaethje right now. We know that Gaethje is going to get into some good fight regardless, right? But I wanted to bring up Beneil Dariush because he's kind of been the forgotten 155er. Because look, Makhachev's in the conversation. Does he deserve the title shot next? Maybe not. It's do you think Beneil is in the position to fight? Who does he have to fight? I wanted to ask you this, on air, to get that kind of opinion out there, because obviously we're going to go into the new year, and I'm sure he's looking to get that big, title fight now that he has a kid.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's actually pretty clear. I think that if you look at Makhachev's fights, I think the only win that he has that's of elite caliber was ultimately the Dan Hooker win. And that also is the caveat of Dan Hooker took that on a very, very short notice, and he's not exactly a grappler by trade. So if you look at it from that lens, I was never really high on Makhachev getting the title shot next. I always thought he needed one more. And I think that one more can be Beneil Dariush. The winner of that gets the title shot next. Both guys are on insane runs. In the meantime, you go ahead and throw that title shot to your boy, Justin Gaethje. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Okay. I wonder if they'll decide to do that or not. I could see them not going that direction at all, just so you know.
Well, yeah, for sure. I think they could possibly go in a different direction. Probably just because if you look at how they've kind of treated Islam, they've given him that hardcore push. Now, is it possible that they might go away in different directions, because it's going to sound mean, but they have their Habib now, and that's Khamzat Chimaev. They are positioned Islam for these last few months. I mean, dude, he shot up to number 5 with a win over Thiago Moises. I love Thiago Moises, but he's not. I mean, come on, dude. Granted,
certain people got moved out of their rankings too, who probably deserve to get moved out of their rankings. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but honestly, even from that perspective, it still makes very little sense for him to be shot up to number 5 for that win. But even so, I don't know, man. I never really liked that, and I think they're probably going to possibly step off the gas of the Islam train just for the moment, and I think they're probably going to throw Gaethje a bone, give him the title shot, especially considering Gaethje's been very vocal about how pissed off he is. UFC's kind of in a position where most of their stars are pissed off with them, so I don't know if they really want to do that, as well, and piss him off too.
Mm-hmm. And then you brought up Chandler versus McGregor, which, by the way, I did bring this up. I was like, I brought it up to a friend. I'm like, do you really want to see McGregor get taken down by Chandler? Like, I know it's not gonna happen a lot in the fight, but it's gonna happen at least one time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be an interesting fight to make. It'd be fun. Depends what version of Connor comes out, obviously. I think that's the most important thing. And I mean, now he has a steel rod in his leg. He's gonna kick harder, Josh.
Well, you know what, dude? I mean, it'd be fun, but is it just me or is that like it's kind of a pretty crazy fight for Connor to take at this point in time, given the fact that he has lost 2 in a row?
Yeah, and I mean they've also thrown out Tony and Chandler, and actually Tony and McGregor, which I'm surprised people don't talk about that fight being made more. You know what I mean? I think at this point in time, it actually makes kind of some sense, Josh. You know what I'm saying?
I think it makes lots of sense. That fight was supposed to happen back in 2016, 2017, but because remember Tony was the interim champ, and then Connor just said, "Fuck it, I don't feel like fighting Tony." So that never ended up happening. I mean, if you ask me, I think the Chandler fight, I think it'd be very, very fun, but I want to see Connor get a win first. Just because if you win the Conor McGregor chain to keep on rolling, you cannot have him keep on losing, and I think he loses the Michael Chandler. Especially considering he's going to be coming back, ring rust, coming off an injury, and you're having him go against a guy who's arguably like the fastest starter in the UFC lightweight division. So, I mean, it would be fun for however long it lasted, but I don't know if it would go well for Connor. But even then, I could see the case for Connor winning too. I mean, fuck, dude, if Charles Oliveira can like just land unlimited left hooks against Michael Chandler, I'd be very interested to see what Conor McGregor can do. But yeah, I mean, from that perspective, it'd be fun, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me personally.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I think Tony fight makes the most sense right now.
For sure. That or the Nate trilogy, but who knows what's going to happen with Nate.
Well, dude, Nate's going to fight Hosma.
I hope not. I really, really hope not.
That or you going to fight, what's his name? The kickboxer on this card, the one who knocked out Ixley. He's going to fight, the fuck's this guy's name?
Alex Bahia?
Yeah, he's going to fight Alex Bahia.
That doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if they have completely given up on. I can only assume they've given up on re-signing Nate. That's the only explanation in my mind that makes sense, because they're going in the complete opposite direction of any fight he can win. Like they're trying to throw him towards Hosmat, Luque potentially, although that one would at the very least be more fun. So they've just given up. I can only assume they've given up on re-signing Nate, but I don't know. But back to UFC 268 and just moving on down the card. Marlon Vera defeating Frankie Edgar via third round TKO. I don't think there's a whole lot of, to really talk about in terms of ranking implications for this one or title shots, but I'll go ahead and ask the question. Do you think it's time for Frankie Edgar to finally hang it up?
Frankie Edgar probably should have retired like 3 fights ago, dude. Maybe more than that. Just keep it 100. No, let's just be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just the truth. Yeah. This run's been over for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, if you look at his last, I'm going to go ahead and be honest. I did not think he had to retire until now. Because if you look at his last, we'll go 5 fights. He lost to Max Holloway. He got knocked out by Chan Sung Jung. Took a year off, moves down to bantamweight, fights Pedro Munoz. I thought he lost that fight cleanly. I scored that shit 49-46 Munoz. but it was close enough to where I was not complaining about it, because even if I thought he lost, I was like, he looked competitive and there were a lot of close swing rounds in there, so I was not really that upset about it. But I did think Pedro Munoz won that one. And if you check MMA decisions, I believe most people do actually think that is the case as well. And then he gets knocked out in like 30 seconds by Corey Sandhagen, and then this one. This is the one real fight where I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's time for Frankie to hang it up. And my explanation is actually pretty simple, because like as far as these other fights, right, like the Max fight was not particularly close. The Max was always a terrible matchup for him. Like he was always a demon of a matchup for Frankie Edgar. Chan Sung Jung, he took that one on short notice. I wasn't really that crazy about the matchup. Took it on short notice. I was not that upset. And it was a really weird fight where, he just got blitzed really, really early and it just kind of happened. So, but then, he beats Munoz, and I didn't think he beat Munoz, but it was a close enough fight. And the Sandhagen one, he got caught early. It can happen to anybody 28 seconds in. But this one, dude, Vera, like I thought Frankie Edgar was winning long portions of this fight. He looked good in the first round. Round 2, Cheeto started to turn the tables. He got it from the takedown, ended up. But then, dude, round 3, you can just tell. Like, the fight did not get finished until 3 minutes 50 seconds in. But I felt like it felt inevitable. And for the first time as I was watching a Frankie Edgar fight, I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna lose this fight. He's probably gonna get knocked out. Because it seems like every single shot he was taking was having a visible effect on him. That's never something he had to worry about. His gas tank slowed down a lot.
I mean, he is
like
40.
Yeah, and that's the type of thing, dude. Like, you never saw that happen in Frankie Edgar's prime. I think it's time. I'm not gonna tell him to hang it up, but it truly depends on what he wants to be. If he wants to be a Jim Miller type, where he wants to fight, newcomers, lower ranked guys, not ranked guys, that would be cool. If he wants to be Arlovsky, fight guys in the lower end of the top 15, that'd be cool as well. But his days as a top contender are completely done. And I think if that's his goal, then he should probably hang it up. But, it's ultimately his decision.
I picked him to win too, man. I'm sad. I thought he could win it. I was really sure he was going to win it somehow.
For the first round and a half, I thought it looked pretty good. Because he took him down. He started landing his big ground and pound. Things were looking well for him. And then it just tide turned, dude. He got gas. Can't really expect that. You never expect that to happen for a guy.
Yeah. I'm sure Chico feels real good for beating up a 40-year-old man. No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus, dude. Moving down, underrated banger on the card. And it's a shame, this fight happened on the night that it did. And not even the night that it did, the time in which it did. Shane Burgos, Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q going on after Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. This is a straight-up banger, dude. This was an absolute.
They got overshadowed, dude. Like, they got fucking overshadowed there.
It did, and it's a shame because this was a phenomenal fight, dude. I mean, I was like, I had to go back and watch it actually, like, yesterday because I was like, there was such an emotional, like, physical letdown after that fight. But dude, what do you think about that one? What do you think about Shane Burgos breaking back into the conversation? I know you picked against him, but do you think about him and Billy Q going forward after that one?
I mean, good for him, dude. I didn't think he was going to win, man. I just thought it was too soon after that knockout, especially with such a scary finish on him. And then I saw my weigh-ins, and he looked horrendous, too, which, granted, who doesn't look horrendous at weigh-ins? But, I mean, I think he cuts quite a bit, too, so it makes sense. But, and by the way, I made my decision before the weigh-ins. I mean, I just saw him, and it kind of just, at least for me, kind of reinforced the idea.
Mm.
And, yeah, no, I mean, good performance for him. I mean, and Billy was winning early on, right? I think he won the first 2, and then Shane took the last 2. Like you said, it kind of got really overshadowed that night, man. It really did.
Yeah, of course. It just a damn shame because what a fight. Both these dudes, I have such high hopes for both of them. I mean, honestly, I'm a big Shane Burgos fan. Not in terms of like winning the title. I think Shane still has that problem where he's still very, very hittable, but his boxing and his striking is so crisp, dude. I would really like to see him kind of fix some of those defensive issues that he's got, and then because it's a damn shame, dude. You can tell that like his physical talent is there, his speed, his power, very, very good, but just he gets hit way too often, way too often. But I mean, we'll see what happens moving forward. As far as on the undercard, there's a lot to talk about there. To put it lightly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let you take the first crack. What are the most, like the biggest fights that you're kind of looking forward to talking about from the undercard? Rather.
I mean, let's just get into it, Josh. I mean, Alex Pereira winning via flying knee. I still love what you told me about that. I think did I call you after that kind of happened?
You did, yeah. We talked about it.
I did. You did call me, and I love what you said. It was along the lines of like, do you think if you closed your eyes, you would have known Alex Pereira was fighting there was another guy in the octagon with him? I mean, that shit was comedy, dude. One of the, and I should go back and listen to it and turn off the screen and actually just listen to the commentary and see how it goes. I'm actually really curious.
And see how many times they mention Andreas, his opponent.
Yes, I think that'd be a fun experiment. I will do that at some point. I'll probably do that tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I think we still need to temper expectations.
Of course, everybody does. The fuck?
I mean, here's the reality. As much as I enjoy watching Alex Pereira fight, and as fun as that is, and as far as that was a phenomenal win. I mean, he lost the first round. He got his back taken. He showed really good defensive skills, honestly. And people are like, why do they throw him? Here's my biggest thing, though. People are like, why do they throw him a grappler and Andreas? I'm like, have you never? Andreas isn't a grappler. Like, yeah, like, what do you mean? That's just that's what you're gonna have to do against a kickboxing like one of the goats at that weight class.
It's like it's like why would you ever stand with Izzy? You know what I mean? That's just like
Yeah.
that's the best way you can put it. Why would you ever stand with Izzy? You know?
Mhm.
Why would you ever stand with Gaethje? You know what I mean? It's shit like that.
And look, he's a guy that he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He does, which is I mean, but he's also not a wrestler, and he's one of the smallest guys, like height-wise, at that weight class.
Really?
I mean, he's not one of the smallest, but in terms of let me rephrase it. I believe he's 5'10", 5'11", and he was going up against a 6'4" Alex Pereira.
Oh,
so he may
okay.
not be one of.
Just talking about his opponent. My bad.
Yeah. But he's definitely not like he was gonna be tough for him to get him down, and he's not a great wrestler by trade. So people are like, how are you gonna throw him a grappler in his first? I'm like, he's really not, dude. Like he's really not. I mean, if you go watch like his most recent fight against KB Bular, I don't think that fight even hit the mat once. Like that's just he's not a grappler, dude. Not really. He's actually kind of a fun striker. I mean, if you ever watched he is one of my favorite regional knockouts whenever he faced Marcel Fortuna, who actually, I believe, fought at heavyweight. I'm not sure you may recognize that name. He fought in heavyweight in the UFC. He like spinning wheel kick, knocked him the fuck out in like Titan FC before he got in the UFC. So he's actually a really fun striker. He's not a grappler at all. But that's exactly just what happens when you're fighting against a guy against Alex Pereira. So from that, aspect, I was impressed with defensive skills. I was disappointed he got taken down though, and how easily it seemed that he was controlling him. That's something he's gonna have to work on. But dude, it's about as awesome of a highlight reel you can get. So I mean, from here, dude, we're in complete agreement, right? He's gonna fight Kevin Holland next. Kevin Holland just pulled out with an injury too.
I mean, I don't know if he'll be able to fight Kevin Holland, but he'll get favorable matchmaking like we talked about it privately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. You can tell they're pushing the shit out of this kid. Like I said, if you didn't even know, like if you just close your eyes, you would have never even heard his opponent's name. Like it was all about Alex Pereira, which I get, but
I'm curious to see, man, who they give him next. I'm just as far as matchmaking, because obviously they're not going to give him anybody who's going to really wrestle heavily. People are going to want to stand and bang. I mean, and they're going to have to, obviously raise the level of opponent, right? Like who's going to be next? Who's available right now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like if they're going to do it, Kevin Holland would have been like the perfect guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. But I think Kevin Holland is that guy. I think that they're just going to fully. I mean, I think they're getting the easiest possible matchmaking to possibly get there. But it is what it is. I thought it was an okay performance. I'm not as high on him as everybody else is, just because he's so young in his MMA career, and you can tell.
Just you wait, Josh. Just you fucking wait when he's winning by fucking submission, flying fucking arm bars. He's choking guys out like fucking Habib. You'll fucking see.
Yeah, I mean, I can't dispute it, but
just you fucking wait, man. Wait till I see you next time, Josh. Wait till I see you next time.
Wait till I see you next time. Wait till I see you next time, Angel Ortega.
Oh God.
Did you catch whenever they had the because I thought it was really, really funny. At one point they were obviously like playing that promo, and I'm not sure if it was connected, but coming out of the promo, you hear DC start laughing whenever because you could just like hear like either the mic was turned on or like they cut the promo short, but you could hear DC laughing right after Colby's face is getting red. You could tell he's like a 12-year-old in the Xbox Live lobby. Like I thought that was really, really funny. I'm like, dude, that of all the promos you could have for that fight, I'm very surprised you guys went with that angle. Like I really, really am. Like he looked, I still think he looked ridiculous in that one, but
it was a little funny though. I did kind of like it there.
Yeah, I mean I thought it was very, very funny. And I guess DC might have as well. So I thought that was really, really funny.
We were all on the same page. We were all on the same page then.
Yeah, I hope somebody can find it. But yeah, as far as the other card, other fights on the undercard, dude, Bobby Green getting a knockout whenever Al went to. You think it's time for Al to hang it up potentially?
I mean, dude, he was out for forever with like some lingering injury, and I'm sure he makes pretty decent money off real estate. He's doing the podcast. Like, I mean, he has other things outside of MMA he can do. He doesn't have to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, personally, I think he probably should. I think it's one thing. Like, obviously, he's been out for a long time, but like, And Bobby Green was always a really, really bad matchup for him. I did not understand that matchmaking at all. But, dude, Bobby Green has not had a knockout win in 8 years. And Ally Quint is a guy that's never been knocked out before this. So,
damn, that sucks.
Bad sign whenever something like that happens. But, dude, Chris Curtis getting the win. This is probably my second favorite win of the night.
That's a feel-good story there from what I know.
It's about as feel-good story as he gets. Obviously, he fought in the first season of the Dana White Contender Series before the UFC kind of realized that they can just hire all these kids on 12 and 12 contracts and get all their use out of them and then release actual fun fighters. He actually got one of the best wins on the, in my opinion, of this. I believe it was the first season or second season. Hook kick knockout, put a kid to sleep. And they just didn't sign him for no reason. I think they gave out no contract that episode, despite the fact that he got like an insane knockout. And then he's like, I'm done. Like I'm retiring. I can't do this anymore. Like it's not worth it. And at that point, he'd already had like 20 or so fights, and he'd fought a lot of really good dudes. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm done. I'm not doing it. Eventually, he's like, you know what? I'll keep on fighting. Get signed to the PFL, and then he gets to the championship round, I believe, or the playoffs. And he just gets to the playoffs, and he loses one fight, but then like something happens with like the guy he lost to had to pull out due to injury. So he's like, he gets the shot at the championship against Ray Cooper, like the same night, and he gets knocked the fuck out. And he's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna retire, can't do this. And eventually he makes one final push, like the year later he comes back, he's like, I'm gonna make one final push to get to the UFC, gets the short notice call against Phil Hawes and knocks him out cold. So just an absolutely insane story, dude. Shout out Chris Curtis. About as good as a story you can get.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get a quick push though, right? Because obviously he's not young. He's 34 years old. I mean, he's gonna have to fight 2 to 3 times this next year. Let's just be realistic. Which at 185, and if his skill set seems true, I could see him beating quite a few decent guys. You know what I mean? So, good luck to him. That was definitely a cool story. I saw his record. I saw his, how long he had been fighting. I'm like, damn, this is a guy who really should have been in a bigger promotion soon. I'm surprised like Bellator didn't try to grab him at some point in time or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like you said, he lost to Ray Cooper, which no shame, current champion. He lost to Magomed Kirimov, who was also the former champ and fought in a fight against Ray Cooper. And that's Ray Cooper's rival right there. He went to distance both times with him. So nothing to be ashamed of right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, dude, it was just such a feel-good story. He's going to have to get the push soon because he's older, and also you can't knock out Phil Hawes, who at this point looked fucking phenomenal. He even looked phenomenal in that fight, dude. And Phil Hawes, if he won this one, he's probably going to get in the top 15. Couldn't even blame him. He beat Nasruddin Imov, who we're about to talk about, Kyle Locks, a couple other good wins. So yeah, dude, he's going to get that push. Couldn't be happier for him. Speaking of Nasruddin Imov, defeating Edmund Shabazian via second-round knockout. What the fuck are they doing with Edmund Shabazian? Like, I think we even touched on a little bit last week, but, like, what the fuck are they doing with this poor kid, dude? Like, I've never been more mad at matchmaking. Like,
hey, the level did go down, though, after Jack Hermanson, but, they did give him a really hard guy still who's on the come up.
Yeah, the level went down from Jack Hermanson to a 25-year-old killer whose only loss was to Phil Hawes and had just knocked out Ian Heinisch.
Hey, Edmund is 23, man. It's only a 2-year difference, and their records weren't that far apart.
Yeah, but it's all about momentum, dude. Like, you can't give a guy... Ian Heinisch is a really, really good fighter. He also beat Nasruddin Imov also beat Jordan Williams. He's a really, really good guy. His only loss is to Phil Hawes. Like, I never understood that matchmaking, personally. Like, sure, he was unranked, but he probably should have been ranked. I mean, that was literally the first knockout loss of Ian Heinisch's career. So, never made any sense to me. And, full credit to him. His grappling looked better. His gas tank looked better, and he still lost. So, they got to give this kid, the worst middleweight on the roster as far as I'm concerned. Because he's not just losing. He's taken 3 straight beatings. And as a young kid, that's got to destroy your fucking confidence, dude. He's, 3 straight. Not even close. That's the worst part. The Hermanson fight, actually, I take that back. The Hermanson fight was kind of close-ish until the third round where it ended up losing it. But even then, in that third round, he got fucking bludgeoned. So, and Brunson beat the shit out of him. Imov beat the shit out of him. It's bad matchmaking. So I don't understand what they're doing with them. Shout out to Imov getting in the rankings, though. And I honestly think there's a couple other fights we talk about from the prelims. We're going to touch on just these last two. Ian Gary defeating Jordan Williams. Angel, do you believe the hype is the future here?
I mean, dude, I always said he was a good young talent. I caught an eye of him probably like a little bit before he got signed. Which, by the way, when he got signed, I lost my shit. I was so unhappy, dude. I was like, no. No, I didn't want him to get signed to the UFC yet. I wanted him to get a little bit more experience. I just said he's 23 years old. He's the same age as Edmund. And I was like, look, dominate cage weighters. Do your thing. Become double champ. Like do it and then come to the UFC. He could have done all of that. Got him more experience. Fought guys of a higher level before he made it to the UFC. Now he's in the UFC and it's not going to get any easier. You know what I mean?
For sure. And look, I think he has the potential. But I'm completely on your side. I think he got signed way too soon. And I think that's pretty clear just from his first performance. Jordan Williams, I love the story.
He's a tough guy.
I think tough guy, we've seen, though, his level recently. And God bless him, it's not phenomenal. He's not a very good fighter, at least at the UFC level. That's not to say he can't one day be there. I believe he's 31. Obviously, some dudes peak later than others. He also has the diabetes thing going on, which is very unfortunate. It makes his story, but also it's a very tough thing, especially when you're cutting weight and there's a lot of other issues. But Ian Gary, that was a tough fight, dude. And Jordan Williams was piecing him up until he got the knockout. Full credit to him for getting it, but it really puts it in perspective. When Mickey Gall, as much as I love Mickey Gall, he's kind of a meme fighter. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better term, he's a meme fighter, and he beat the dog shit out of Jordan Williams way easier.
Hey, but Mickey Gall's trying to make the turnaround, though, so we got to give my man some credit.
I mean, he might, but dude, it's just comparing and contrasting. That was not exactly the easiest. It was not the greatest performance for Ian Gary in his debut, although he's still very, very young.
Just you wait, Josh, until Mickey Gall becomes championship caliber. Just you fucking wait.
Ian Gary said it's going to be him versus Hazmat for the welterweight title one day. Are we sure it's not going to be?
I mean, that's not
both
complete.
Them losing to Mickey Gall. For the
let's be honest. That's not completely unrealistic. I mean, they're both pretty young. It's not like it couldn't happen one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue against it. He's very, very young. They got to be very cautious with his matchmaking moving forward, though. But
and I hope he has a great fucking agent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Mickey Gall versus him makes a lot of sense next.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with Mickey.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll go and see what happens moving forward with Ian Gary. And the last fight I want to go and touch on: Chris Barnett defeating John Vellante. Holy shit! This is my favorite knockout of all time.
One of the knockouts of the year. At least it's in contention.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be my knockout of the year. I don't even know how you can argue against it. A 265-pound man who actually cuts weight. I believe he weighs around 280. He spinning back kicks John Vellante. And the poor guy's retirement fight, too.
Right?
Like, oh my God, dude. That is so tough.
How else do you want to go out?
Poor guy, dude. Poor guy.
I still love what he said at the weigh-in. He's like, this is if you bought Stipe and DC on Wish, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I felt bad for John Vellante, but Chris Barnett, class act, gives him the mic, gives him the hype up to end his career. And I actually caught Chris Weidman saying something, because I believe he was in John Vellante's corner. He was like, yeah, dude, like, I really appreciated that, because even though he got knocked out, at least he's ending his career and cheers rather than the awkward silence or the sadness. And I was like, that's such a G move by Chris Barnett. But yeah, I mean, overall, dude, that's a guy that he had a long path to get to the UFC. I believe we talked about it, how he had to go fight in Japan and Road FC. He fought on the undercard of a Roy Jones card, I believe. He fought in Ryzen, fought in the IGF. He's done like a whole lot of stuff, and he's been fighting. Dude, his first fight was against Jonathan Ivey, if you know that name. He fought him in 2009. That was his first ever fight. So for him, he's had to work so hard to get here. He's actually had to lose a lot of weight as well. He weighed at 301, I believe. Not 301, but like around 300 plus pounds. He was fighting in Ryzen a couple of years ago. Like, he's had to lose a lot of weight. He's had to improve a whole lot. And full credit to him, dude. He finally was able to go ahead and make the transition. Obviously, he wasn't even like a very high prioritized guy too. Like, he got into the UFC. People forget, like, a guy was supposed to fight Ben Rothwell. That guy pulled out. They called up a replacement. That guy ended up having to pull out, and they got the fight against Ben Rothwell in like a week's notice. So so happy for Chris Huggy Bear Barnett, age 35, 5'9", 265, getting the knockout win on the undercard. Just other quick wrap-up notes. Dustin Jacoby got a nice win over John Allen. He took that fight on really short notice. Dustin Jacoby is a very, very good guy, very awkward style, and he's actually still unbeaten in the UFC. He had a draw at the end, Kutilaba, knocked out Darren Stewart. Going to be very, very interesting to see where he goes from here. So, yeah. And then also Odie Osborne picked up a nice win as well. But moving on from that card, from New York to Vegas, UFC Vegas 42. We've talked about it a little bit. Sometimes they have these one-fight cards, Angel, where it's just there's one fight that's kind of, the main one.
I don't know about that. I feel like this is a terribly put together card, like the order. We'll get into that in a minute, though.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm about to mention. But this is not the case of that on the main card.
Oh, no. I mean, on the main card, the right fight is to start and the right fight to end is on. But still, I feel like there's guys who are deserving of being on the main card. Yes. For
sure. But I guess we'll go ahead and get into it, dude. The main event, Max Holloway making the turnaround after the most lopsided win in UFC history, after he beat Calvin Kattar in January of this year on Fight Island. He's back taking on Yair Rodriguez. He said he could have waited to have the title shot, but he wanted to stay active. And El Pantera is in his way. Will he end up springing the upset? I saw Max is a minus 750 at certain betting lines. If you want to go and cash that ticket for this weekend. Dude, I have never seen a fighter as good as Yair Rodriguez be as dude, just to give you perspective, people were talking about Kamaru being a massive underdog over Colby, despite the fact that, he'd beaten him once already and how good Colby is. He was at highest a 3-1 favorite. Max is a 7.5-1 favorite.
It was crazy. I heard someone say that's not enough.
And here's the worst part. They might be right.
Right?
Because, do you think it's even possible for him to spring the upset here? Obviously, we want to go ahead and give him respect. He's on a great run, but, what do you think?
With some of those spinning strikes he throws, maybe he can catch Max, hurt him. Unlikely, right? I feel like Max is so disciplined, he's not going to get caught with any spinning shit. I feel like that's his only best bet, at least for him. He's not going to submit Max. Max is, deceivingly good on the ground. You know what I mean? If anything, dude, we might even get a Max Holloway submission on Yair Rodriguez. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. At this point, we don't know what's going to happen. After that last performance, man, we talked about this at the start of the year, right? And it's crazy they were going to end the year with Max pretty much. Not exactly, but you know what I mean. We talked about how on that night, Max Holloway might be the greatest fighter on the planet on any given day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's actually a fucking terrifying thought to think about. He beat the shit out of Calvin Kattar. Josh, I had doubts going into that fight.
I know.
I had doubts.
And it wasn't even close.
And it wasn't even close. I can't believe I even had doubts, man. It ended up being one of the craziest, single-handedly one of the greatest performances ever. I think in anything I've ever seen sports-related, man, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of great shit in my lifetime, man. But I think as far as an individual sport, a single guy, that had to have been one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. It was fucking amazing. But yeah, no, I feel like if you don't pick Max here, you're fucking insane, or you're just praying to God you hit something on the bets.
Yeah, dude, here's my way of putting it into perspective, right? You mentioned how Max on that night might be the greatest we've ever seen. I have, of the greatest performances in MMA history, if I were to, lay out my top three, just off the top of my head, Max Holloway has 2 of them.
Is that
How
scary?
insane is that? He 50-41 Calvin Kattar, for those of you who are not, I understand that was his first headlining spot. Actually, second, I take that back. He fought a Wednesday card against Dan Ige, which is weird. But his first real headlining spot against a top 5 guy. Calvin Kattar is a fucking dog. He has up to that point, we were arguing if he has the greatest boxing period in the UFC. He is a tough kid out of Boston who has power in both hands. It's a phenomenal jab. And his only losses up to that point was Hanada Moicano in a war, and Zabit Magomed in a unanimous decision loss. But up to that point, the tide had turned in that 3rd round. Had that been 5 rounds, he would have beaten Zabit, which is insane to think about. So, he was only getting better going into that Max fight, and I could see why you had worries, dude. Like, he knocked the shit out of Jeremy Stevens. He beat Dan Ige. He had that really good fight with Zabit, and dude, he went out there and put it on him. Like, it was quite literally, when I say the most lopsided fight ever, scorecards. 50-43, 50-43, 50-42, a 50-42. I scored a 50-41.
Yeah.
And that's popular. If you check out MMA decisions, that's a very common decision. Like, every round, but the first being 10-8. That's how I saw it. So, dude, just insane. In case you guys are curious, I mentioned how Max has a top, like, 2 of the 3 greatest performances I've ever seen. Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor at UFC 205 is in that conversation. And then Max against Brian Ortega is also in that conversation. Because I actually give of those 3, I could probably give the edge to Max against Ortega, just because he had to deal with the submission threat, and he almost submitted Ortega too.
Yeah.
And he beat the dog shit out of him. Like, his takedown defense was on point. He had to worry about the takedown, and he still beat his ass. And he submitted him in that round 3 as well. So, yeah, full props to Max Holloway. I got him easy this weekend. Is there a game plan to beat Max in this one? I think so. I believe it was Josh Thompson who talked about, if Yair goes to the legs a lot, if he goes to the body a lot, to potentially try and slow down Max, that would be interesting. That may have some success later on in the fight, but even then, I don't think it's going to be enough. He's going to have to catch him with something wild, something crazy, and just hope that he's able to crack Max's chin for the first time, because we've never seen anybody do that. So, but we'll see what happens, dude. Moving on down to the co-main event, and it's weird that this is probably, look, dude, I like certain portions of this card. This is the worst placed fight on the card. That's not to be disrespectful to either one of these guys. It's just how it is. Ben Rothwell, big Ben Rothwell, probably the second biggest name on the card, no pun intended. He's won 3 of his last 4. He's actually looked really, really good recently, in my opinion, despite being the age of 40. He's looking for his 40th win this weekend against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, the former light heavyweight, moved up to heavyweight back in 2018. And he's had some mixed success there. I mean, he lost to Struve, beat Ben Sassoli, lost Alexander Romanov, but he's coming off a win over Maurice Green, a win that sent Green packing out of the UFC. So, dude, what do you think about this in the co-main spot, and who do you got?
I mean, it's fucking terrible at the co-main spot, but it's heavyweight, so I kind of get it. The experiment of, light heavyweight to heavyweights does not work still, Josh. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. And for what it's worth, Ben Rothwell is always able to get wins at even in his older age. I mean, he did sneak by and get that OSP win, but OSP isn't a heavyweight by any means. And he beat Stefan Struve, but at that point, at this point in Stefan Struve's career, it's like, why did Stefan Struve come back? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, he's at a level where he can't beat the at least at this point in time, he can't beat the higher echelon guys. I mean, there was a time though back in 2014, 2013, where there was a point in time. Look, at one point, this was a list of his 4-fight win streak, which is actually kind of crazy. Brandon Vera, Alistair Overeem, and Matt Mitrione, and Josh Barnett. I mean, that's a pretty solid amount of the wins right there with heavyweights. Like, you got to give the guys some credit. I mean, there's a different world where maybe he beats GDS and the fucking universe breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just wasn't that one. But he had the 3-year layoff, comes back. Loses to Arlovsky, loses to Ivanov. Obviously, guys were still pretty competitive and kind of doing their thing. And Ivanov was trying to contend, but I don't know what he's doing these days now, if he's going to compete or not, because we haven't seen him in a fucking eternity, it seems like. Maybe we saw him last year, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Didn't see him compete this year. I don't know if he's dealing with injury or anything like that, but I'm sure being outside of the U.S. has been some trouble for him. But, yeah, man, I mean, it should be clear, Ben Rothwell win 40-13 after Saturday night. Nice little record right there for him.
For sure. I think it's going to be an easy win for him. But, odd placement in the co-main spot. Definitely don't get it. But, I mean, as far as other cards, other fights on the card, what are the ones you're going to go ahead and touch on?
I mean, we got to talk about the main card opener, man. Or not main card opener, actually. The one after that. No disrespect to Song Yadong and Julio Arce, because that's also a banger. So I'll give him credit right now. But the following fight after that, Miguel Baeza versus Chaos Williams. I mean, Josh, Miguel was Violence at its finest. I mean, he was in a fight, a contending fight of the year for 2021. He looked like he was on a great fucking trajectory. He looked one of the best prospects of the year. I mean, if he beat Santiago Ponzinibbio, he'd be in a position to fight another ranked opponent right now. And well, we're here, and he's against Chaos Williams, which, they brought him back a little bit, took a step back. Chaos is coming off I believe a loss, right? It was against, he actually beat, I forgot he fought Matt Smelsberger after the Chapeau fight. But I guess it makes sense for Miguel. Good fight, banger. I mean, Miguel isn't far out of getting back into the rankings and fighting a ranked opponent. I mean, he's going to be a ranked fighter at some point in his career. I mean, he's 29 years old. He's in the peak of his athletic prime, I mean, it's going to be a better time. He's in a good spot. I mean, I think they'll be able to build him up. He has plenty of time to be champ still.
Of course, and that's just a phenomenal fight. That is an absolute banger. Very, very high for both those guys moving forward. Because, I kind of hate when they do these prospect versus prospect matchups, but dude, that's still such an amazing fight. I'm not exactly going to complain about it. I mean, what's my second most look forward to fight? Thiago Moises versus Joel Alvarez.
Disgustingly placed at the end of the prelims. I feel like it should be on the main card, dude. I mean, that's a former ranked fighter against a rising contender. I mean, it's fucking terrible, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. I don't understand. Thiago Moises coming off his first headlining role, probably his last headlining role. That was pretty much only put there so they can have Makata get a main event win. But, dude, both these guys in their mid-20s. Joel Alvarez, his last 3 wins, Danilo Bellarito, Joseph Duffy, and then Alexander Yakovlev. Great wins. And obviously, Thiago Moises always puts on fun fights. So it's going to be an absolute banger. Song Yadong Julio versus Julio Arce, like you said, very, very fun fight. That one should be a lot of fun. Courtney Casey versus my girl Liana Jujua. That should be fun. Cynthia Calvillo taking on a short notice fight against Andrea Lee. I don't want to, I don't want to say this is like a cut-worthy fight for either one of them, but if they lose, they're in that conversation.
Fuck, man, cut them both. No, I was kidding.
I was like, damn, dude, I'm a big Cynthia Calvillo fan, but she has lost 2 in a row. Andrea Lee's lost 3 of her last 4. I believe both of them are still ranked in the top 15 of flyweight, but that just shows how bad that,
I mean, they'll still be in the division. I mean, there's another fight on this card where you could cut both the fighters, though.
Is it Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson?
No, Courtney Casey versus Iona. Yeah, what is it?
Liana Jujua.
Jujua, yeah. I'm pretty sure they both not doing very well.
I don't think Liana's there. She's young. She's 26. She's I believe 2-2 in the UFC. She did lose to Miranda Maverick last time out, though.
That is hard, and it was a doctor's stoppage, but she was losing that fight, though.
Yeah, for sure. Courtney Casey, I would not be surprised if she loses. She's on the chopping block, though. Just because she's older and we know her level. She's like 2-5 in her last 7.
Yeah.
So things don't exactly look good there.
But no, if she loses that, she's 100% getting cut. There's no question about it. I mean, she'd be 9-10 in the UFC.
Oh shit, she's that? Oh my god, you're right. Yeah, I didn't even realize her record was that even.
Pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, but I did mention it earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and give a shout out. Felicia Spencer leads Leah Letson. For some reason, this is a fight. I mean, I like Felicia Spencer. I also like Leah Letson. She was on The Ultimate Fighter.
It's a return fight.
Yeah, the one with oh my god, I'm forgetting her name. The one that Macy Chase on that season. This is her first fight in 3 years. It's interesting. I'm definitely interested to see what exactly happens here and what their intentions are. Because UFC is in a weird position with this women's featherweight division where they can either go all in on it, because Kayla Harrison is a free agent, and they also have, Danielle Wolf, a couple of other good fighters on roster, or if they're just going to have this fight so they can, have them fill out their contractual obligations and then just cut them. So, what happened
to Leah Letson? Why was she out for so long?
I actually have no idea. I have legitimately no clue.
Gonna have to do some research.
Figure it out. Do the investigative work. Yeah, dude. So this is an interesting card. It's not very good, but it's it's odd placement for a lot of it. So it is what it is. But moving on to Bellator, got a recap and we got a Bellator this week as well. Back-to-back weeks for Bellator. Very, very fun. But firstly, Bellator 270 from Ireland. It was a bad night. It's a bad night for the Irish fans for the most part.
Wasn't it?
I guess we're gonna start off with the main event. The Tricky Pitbull finally getting his flowers, so to speak. Finally coming out from his brother's shadow, getting the knockout win, becoming Bellator lightweight champion. What are your thoughts about his performance and just his kind of career as a whole, man? He's definitely been the more slept-on Pitbull brother.
I mean, you got to give him credit, man. After getting an eye poke like that and just putting, I mean, I don't know, that eye poke must have pissed him off so much, Josh, that he was like, oh, fuck, man. It was really crazy, though. It was right after it. Like, it was seconds after it, man. And then he ended up finishing the fight. I mean, good for him.
Mm. Yeah, for sure, dude. Finally, I believe he became the Bellator lightweight, not Bellator lightweight, excuse me, the all-time leader in knockouts for the promotion with that knockout as well. So, dude, he's just full credit to him. Full credit to him. He's had to work the hard way, took the long way to get there, and just absolute full props to Tricky Pitbull finally becoming champion. Co-main event, I feel like this is kind of the bigger story. I feel like that lightweight main event, as fun as it was a fun fight. I feel like we kind of all figured that, that they're kind of just holding that belt for right now. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to them. That's just kind of how it is. The co-main event, I was far more.
Who are they holding it for, Josh? Tell me.
Usman Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
I even think that Brett Primus can take it from him too. Straight up. So, yeah, I think that's just how it is. No disrespect to either one of them. Very fun fight. Very happy for Patricky. That's just how it is, though. But moving on to the co-main event, dude, Patchy Mix pulling out a very, very big win, dude. After missing weight, after all that happened, having to go into enemy territory, pulling out the winner of James Gallagher. I feel like the story here is not really much as Patchy Mix's win as far as James Gallagher's loss. He stepped in, this is the second time he stepped up in competition and he's come up short. What do you think about his outlook moving forward?
I mean, dude, he's a young guy. I mean, there's still plenty of time. I think that's he's 25 years old, man. I mean, he just is now recently like reaching his physical adult male body. I mean, he looks a lot better now than he did when he lost. As far as he's more developed. He's obviously become better since then. He didn't lose after that for a while until now. He obviously changed camps, which was a big risk for him, right? He was leaving the place that got him to 11-1. Now to a new place that I'm pretty sure did some good stuff with him. So honestly, I think him and James Krause are still going to work together. This one fight is not going to dictate everything. And look, Patchy Mix is, a little bit more experienced at this point in his career. A little bit older, has better wrestling. Not as good striking as James Gallagher, which is interesting to say because on the stand-up, it seemed like James was doing pretty good early on, and I mean, man, he got caught, and that's just what happens in that submission, and he'll move on and he'll get through it, man. It's not a big deal. And also, Patchy Mix is also, I think he also had like a camp change recently, so he also was taking big risks in this fight. And on top of that, he missed weight. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on him too. There's a lot of pressure on both these guys, and one guy was just able to handle it better and perform.
For sure. It's gonna be interesting watching him move forward, dude. They're in a very weird position on. I think after this one, I think you probably give him not a tune-up just because this is a tough fight, and also he just switched camps. But after that, it's got to be all top 10 guys move forward. You're taking your time with this kid. He's still very young, but at a certain point, you got to kind of have that consistent step up for sure. As far as the rest of the card goes, dude, like I said, these weird Bellator cards are kind of regional based. But is there anything else you want to touch base on that undercard?
I mean, the only amazing thing that happened that night was probably Pedro Carvalho finally getting a win after having a little skid there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I mean, I kind of feel bad for Daniel Weichel. I feel like he looked a lot. I feel like the age is starting to hit him. He's 36 now.
He slowed down, man.
He slowed down a lot, which sucks because he's one of those dudes that's been around in Bellator. I said not since the beginning, but since Bellator 100 or something. He's been there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And he gave Patricio a really, really tough fight a couple of years back, and I don't know if it was the Manuel Sanchez fight, because ever since that fight, he beat Keon Diggs, but that was a fight he probably should have won a lot easier. It ended up being a split decision in which he arguably lost. And the Pedro Carvalho fight, dude, he looks so much slower. So it looks like the age might be finally hitting him, which really, really sucks. But yeah, dude, overall, it was a fun night of fights, dude. A whole lot of finishes on that undercard. But yeah, just overall fun one. Coming back to the States, though, this Friday night, I believe, Chris Cyborg making her return. Cyborg's in a weird place. I think that most people, she has fun fights in Bellator that they can do. There are certain fights that can be fun. I liked the Julia Budd fight whenever that happened. Obviously, Julia Budd had been dominant up to that point. She ended up getting annihilated, but I think she made it round 4 or something. There's other fights they can potentially do if they want to sign somebody like a Megan Anderson, get her over to Bellator. Kat Zingano has done a great run. I think she's she's put on a lot of muscle mass. She's gone back to a wrestling base. She's a fun option for Cyborg as well, which all of this conversation leads me forward to why the fuck is Sinead Kavanaugh getting a title shot?
This is the most weird matchmaking ever for a title shot in any, probably in any promotion's ever fucking history, Josh. I kid you not.
Well, okay, look, I get it. I kind of get it. Because if you look at the rankings, right?
I mean, those rankings are shit. You know that.
If you look at the rankings, she already beat Arlene Blenko. She already beat Leslie Smith. But, dude, I understand that Kavanaugh is ranked number 5. So, and she's won 2 in a row. So if you want to give it to her, I kind of get it. But she's 7-4. She's 35 years old. I think I can name 3 options off the top of my head that are so much better. Pam Sorens.
They could have put me in there, and I think it would have been a better option.
Dude, Pam Sorensen would make a lot of sense. She just came over from Invicta where she was champ. Okay, Leah McCourt, she's young, but if you want to have a real title challenger for Cyborg, that would make a lot more sense. And then Kat Zingano was a fucking layup. I don't understand why. What? The timelines worked out perfect too for Zingano to step in there. So I don't understand why we're not getting Zingano for Cyborg, because that's probably one of the best female fights you can make outside of the UFC. Am I crazy to think that?
Probably.
Oh, okay, fair enough. No,
I don't know. What else would it be? I mean, probably it is.
Fair enough. Yeah, dude, it's just Jesus.
Yeah, you hear outside. Is that what it is?
Yeah. But we'll just go ahead and wrap this up. And you think it's first round for Cyborg?
Early on,
Probably,
first 2, first 3 at worst, first 3 at worst, and even then third would be really, Cyborg? It took you that long?
Yeah. I mean, this is not to dunk on Sinead Kavanaugh. She is tough as hell. I've watched most of her Bellator fights.
Man, fuck that, Josh. Sinead, no, I was kidding.
I was like, dude. But yeah, she's tough as hell. She's never been finished. She's been finished once. It was via cut. So do with that information what you will. But even then, if you look at her Bellator fights, Olga Rubin, Katharina Lettner, of her losses, she's lost to 3 of the 3 fighters in the top 7. She lost to Arlene Blenko, Jeanette Harding, and Leslie Smith. So I don't know, dude. I don't really get it personally, but they gotta. I don't. Maybe there was an issue with Kat Zingano or something. I don't know. Co-main event. I'm actually far more intrigued on every other fight outside, quite literally every other fight on the main card outside of that one. Literally every single fight. So we'll go ahead and start off the co-main though. Linton Vassell moved him to heavyweight, I believe last year, the year before. He's actually been putting in a lot of good work. Did it the right way. Put on a lot of muscle mass. He's looked damn good. Knockout wins over Sergey Karatanov and Roddy Marks in his last 2, taking on Tyrell Fortune in a fun fight in the co-main. Who do you got in this one, my guy?
That's a hard fight for Linton Vassell. And also, Linton Vassell is 38, Josh. I mean, he's getting pretty fucking old. No disrespect, just saying. Also but he's doing the right thing, right? Obviously, he's realized, hey, I'm not fast enough for light heavyweight, which is weird to say, right? Because it's not like light heavyweights are really quick to begin with. But just enough not to the point where he's like, I don't feel comfortable here anymore. And is making the proper change up to heavyweight, right? And he's doing it the proper way, it seems like. And, now he's getting a really fucking hard opponent in Tyrell Fortune, which good luck with that, my friend.
Mm. Yeah, and that's also, you mentioned how he's getting older. Now, granted, I really thought that Linton Vassell was done. Especially, after his honestly, I don't want to say his title shot. So he lost to Ryan Bader, but it was the way in which he lost to Ryan Bader that made me think, oh, damn, he might be done. But then the Phil Davis one where he got dominated in that one, too, I was like, Jesus Christ, man. And he gets losing to Moldavsky at 3 losses in a row. But then he turned it around, dude. Ronnie Marks is a good fighter. He knocked him out. And Sergey Karatanov has, honestly, a hell of a chin. 4 knockout losses ever. And Vassell put him out. So,
God, that guy's been around forever.
he has. He's probably one of the greatest fighters to never fight in the UFC. Full stop. So
Who's Sergey?
yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say.
yeah, for sure. He's in the conversation. But dude, this is a tough matchup for Linton Vassell. He's taking on a guy ever since Tyrell Fortune lost to Tim Johnson. He's pretty much gone on a hell spree, dude. He beat Saeed Salwa, who we saw earlier. Well, I guess it would have been last month. Pick up a nice win. Very, very good guy. He knocked out Jack May, and then he beat Matt Mitrione in a very big fight as well. So this is going to be a big one. I'm going to go and take Tyrell Fortune, though.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on down the card, dude, what are some of the fights you want to go and talk about outside of the main and the co-main?
I mean, let's not kid ourselves, Josh. We're going to talk about the most hyped prospect ever in MMA, Aaron fucking Pico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, and he's probably you said it, probably the most hyped up guy ever. I mean, he's a wrestling god. He's been training boxing forever. Things were bad, to put it lightly. I mean, he lost his first fight to Zach Freeman, but he was fighting up a lightweight for some reason. That never made sense. He moves on down to featherweight. He gets a couple of nice wins. He beat Leandro Higo, and that was a fight where it's like Higo, I believe, had already challenged for the title. And he's still like really, really good now. And Pico just put him to sleep. So,
Night.
and then he loses to Henry Corrales in a fight where like he got overzealous. He knocked him down. Probably should have gotten the knockout, but he just got overzealous. Ends up getting knocked out. Gets knocked out by Adam Borch. He takes the rest of the year off, comes back, and he's won 4 fights in a row, all via finish. But here's my biggest issue: Justin Gonzalez is a motherfucker, bro. Justin Gonzalez is a bad man. And I get that at a certain point, Aaron Pico is going to have to step up. But, dude, this is a tough fight, dude. He's 12-0. He just beat Taiwan Claxton. Very, very fun fight, though. Very, very fun one. But I see a lot of people talk about Aaron Pico, dude. Do not sleep on Justin Gonzalez this weekend.
It might be fighting night right there for them, right?
Oh, for sure. It has it written all over it.
I mean, the ladies on the undercard could perform, too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, also just a couple other fights, dude. Like Arlene Blenko, Pam Sorensen. Maybe whoever wins that would get a title shot next. I don't know, potentially. But we'll see what happens. Steve Maury, Raheem Cleveland. Neither one of these guys is going to be challenging for a title soon. But I'm a big fan actually of Raheem Cleveland. He actually had a viral knockout somewhat recently where he put a dude, it looked like he killed him with a head kick. He traded. I don't think you've seen it, but he
is taking on Steve Myrie, so good luck to him.
Yeah, that's a tough fight. Steve, I believe, is undefeated, so yeah, it's good. But Rakeem Cleveland, he's been around for a long time. He's somewhat of a veteran on the regional scene. He's fought seemingly not most names, but like just an example from his record, right? He's fought Houston Alexander, Tanner Bozer, Vinny Magoharis, Victor Nemkov. He fought in PFL. He's done a lot of shit, dude. So it's going to be a very fun fight regardless. But also just a couple other ones, a couple quick housekeeping notes. Angel, your girl, Valerie Loreda's back. How excited are you?
I'm always excited to see Valerie fight, man.
Jokes aside, her last fight was pretty horrendous against Hannah Guy.
Not early on. Early on, it looked good until she got taken down and the submission came in, and she survived it. So shout out to her.
Yeah, she did make a lot of bad decisions though, for sure. Although she's not facing some scrub, she's actually fighting Taylor Turner. Record is somewhat deceiving. She's currently 5-7, I believe. But her opponent, she lost to Alejandra Lara. She knocked out Heather Hardy. She has a couple of other nice wins as well. She started off her career 1-5, so that's kind of a rough start to begin with. But she has won a lot recently, so that should be a fun one as well. Any other fights you were looking to talk about on the undercard?
Obviously, Cody Law. I think I mentioned him previously a while back. Might have not on a card. And also, I mean, dude, we don't even have to know this kid, but this kid Jordan Newman, 3-0, collegiate wrestler. You know when a guy has that smaller record and he started his career in Bellator, he's probably going to be pretty good. He's training out of Rufus Sport, probably the right academy for him. So, it looks like he's set up for success. I'm gonna have to check that out just for him.
That's actually surprisingly accurate, dude. Yeah, if there's like a guy that has like a small record and they're fighting in Bellator and they made their debut, they're probably good. Because
Probably
Bellator,
good.
they've done such like a good job getting inroads at like those smaller and like getting like collegiate wrestlers to join them. They're like, yeah, we'll let you train, take your time, and we'll build you up.
It's pretty cool, man.
It's really dope. But as far as MMA goes, just gonna go ahead and move on. Last topic on this week, Keno Alvarez defeating Caleb Plant via 11th round TKO. So a lot to talk about in this one. Just in my opinion, I know that a lot of people disagree with me. I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with me in my take. But what did you think about that fight? What do you think about Canelo getting the win? And also, what was your scorecard? Obviously, you don't have to have like an exact one, but what do you think about Caleb Plant's performance heading into the 11th round?
I didn't keep a score hard because obviously it was hard to like watch the event and then watch boxing card. Like it was really hard. It really was. I did my best. I split my time. That's why I missed some of the fights on the UFC card or parts of it, and then obviously missed quite a bit of the Canelo card. I didn't have the honor of being like Dana and having my TV in front of me and having Little League MMA fights in front of me. But that's just how life goes. But hey man, I mean I'm not surprised. A little later than I thought. Still got to finish though. Caleb Plant is one tough fucking guy, man. Let me tell you. Took a lot of punishment in that fight there at the end. I mean, but you could see in him though he was in those later rounds. I mean, he was turning his back a little bit. He started running away. I mean, not what you want to do in any match. You know what I mean? You could tell it was more of a survival than him bringing on some sort of offense that could lead him to a victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I feel like there's either two ways people talk about this fight. It's either you thought Caleb Plant was getting completely washed and he was a coward and like you thought he just got annihilated and that's why he fought the way that he did, or you thought Caleb Plant was up winning the fight 7-3 or some bullshit. It seems like there's no middle ground. Just from my like looking on social media, just from my looking at like Reddit, places like that. I have a different opinion. I actually thought Caleb Plant was actually looking really fucking good. I thought I gave him like 3 of the first, might have even been 4 of the first 5 rounds. But it was after that. And it's something Canelo even talked about. Like after round 5 to round 6, he went back to his corner because he was frustrated because he couldn't really break the guard. His Plant's like shoulder roll was great. He had a Philly shell going on, dude. Like Canelo could not land clean on him. And while his jab didn't have much on it, Caleb Plant was touching him up with a jab anytime he tried to go in. And like he went back to his corner and he was kind of like, calm the fuck down. Like you're not thinking. You're going out there, you're trying to bang, it's not working. Calm the fuck down. And I was like, that's pretty much when I had to flip the switch because I was getting really, really frustrated, couldn't break the guard. And after that, that's when he started going to the body a lot more. Plant's guard started to drop, he started to land a lot more. At the time of the stoppage, I had it 6-4 for Canelo. I gave him like a clean sweep after like round 6, round 5, somewhere around there. I don't remember like exactly, but dude, it was honestly a lot closer of a fight. Like I told people, Caleb Plant's gonna go in there, he's gonna put in a fun fight, he's gonna give it his all. And that's pretty much what I expected, and that's what we got, in my opinion. Moving forward, though, I guess there's only one thing left. Who do you think Canelo's going to fight next? Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation with moving up to 175. Will he fight, somebody down? Will he try to defend the belts? What do you think is the next one?
I don't know, man. I mean, from here it gets a little scarier, right, for him, right, depending who he defends against. I mean, there's one guy in that division who I think is a pretty dangerous fight for him in the, super middleweight, right?
Yeah.
And obviously at light heavyweight, I mean, it's completely, all those fights are hard. Yeah, I think all those guys up there are very hard to fight for him. And I think it's just going to depend on what he's going to do. I mean, it's crazy that it's so hard to say what's next, and going down to, what would it be? Middleweight's going to be kind of hard at this point for him. I don't know if he even kind of want to do it at this point. But it's not like a crazy weight cut. It's just a matter if he wants to do it or not. And honestly, like no one, it's more or less like, is there anybody deserving of fighting him rather than him of fighting them? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's that crazy, man. Because it's like, who deserves to fight Canelo rather than who does Canelo deserve to fight?
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, moving forward, I don't know what's going to be next for him. And like you said, it gets scary. And that's
It's
not
all
to say,
it's all legacy shit now, man. I mean, it's just like if he wants to, like if he just wants to be like, I just want my resume to be the absolute biggest fuck you in the world to everybody. He goes up to light heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like that's really all he could do, and even then, it's like, why would he do that? You know what I mean? He doesn't really have to do it. Doesn't really make sense to do it fully, but it kind of does. You know? So question marks there.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, dude. It's gonna be really tough for moving up there though. And that's not to be disrespectful of Canelo's skills or anything, but the reality is you mentioned that it gets harder for him. And he's not been fighting scrubs. I mean, Caleb Plant is a very, very, despite what people might say, Caleb Plant's a very, very good fighter. Billy Joe Saunders is very, very good. Like, Cal Smith is very, very good. But whenever you're moving up to light heavyweight, you're fighting some fucking monsters. Remember, it seemed like he was going to fight Bivol before he actually signed the deal to fight Plant. And I think that's going to be a tough-ass matchup. Fights Bivol. Or even... Dude, there's no easy fight for him up there. So, it is what it is, though. Moving on, dude. I mean, is there anything else we talk about this one before we close out?
No, man. I mean, there's stuff going on, but nothing else we gotta mention. I mean, I think next week is it Bud fighting against Sean Porter? So I guess that'll be exciting. Week after that, we got Teofimo versus Cambosos as far in the world of boxing. Devin Haney versus Joseph Diaz, and then obviously got Tank fighting, and I mean, I'm sure we all know how that's gonna go.
Yeah, I believe he's fighting. Oh man, what's his kid's name?
Isaac
Cruz, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a fun guy, but he's not. Like that's not gonna be a good night for him. I was much more interested in the Raleigh fight, but that's just me personally.
Well, I mean, they had to change opponents, so it's not really his fault.
Yeah, for sure, but. It's going to be some fun fights moving forward, dude. I mean, obviously, UFC, I mean, I think kind of just going to wait around for the next pay-per-view after this one. But, yeah, we'll go. It's going to be fun times, obviously, in boxing, really kicking up near the end of the year, all leading into the greatest fight of all time, Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, as always. I'm at Josh Evanoff. He's at Angel Ortega _01 at Courtside Sound 1 for all things relating to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and bud grease. Mouse click.